Welcome to the Wildlife in Need Wildlife Courier Training Program, presented by Wildlife in Need Emergency Response of Pennsylvania. We go the distance for wildlife. There are many reasons a wild animal becomes injured, stranded, or separated from their parents. Each call that is received is evaluated by a WIN dispatcher or a county coordinator to determine whether the animal is in need of rescue, needs to be left alone because it is acting normal, or needs to be reunited with its parents. An estimated 99.9% of the animals are injured due to human interaction, mostly not intentional. As stewards of the animals, we as humans need to be able to help them so that they can be treated and returned to the wild as wild animals for another chance. This map shows the rehabilitation centers in Pennsylvania. There are 28 rehabilitation centers covering 67 counties in Pennsylvania. As you can see, there are many counties where rehabilitation centers are needed. Existing rehabilitation centers receive calls from these counties and struggle trying to convince the caller to transport the animal to their center, or spend hours trying to find volunteers that are willing to capture and/or transport the animals to their center. The problem is that most people will not travel the distance or take the time to travel to a center for a wild animal. The staff and volunteers at a rehabilitation center cannot leave to go get the animal. One of the goals of WIN is to contain an animal in need and transport it to the closest rehabilitation center that is licensed to treat the animal. Oftentimes, this requires a network of wildlife couriers to complete the transport. Wildlife in Need Emergency Response of Pennsylvania, also known as WIN, was founded in October 2017. The person who founded the organization is a retired wildlife rehabilitator who, after joining the Pennsylvania Wildlife Rehabilitation and Education Council, also known as the Wildlife Council, discovered that the challenges she was experiencing at her center were challenges that almost all rehabilitators in the state of Pennsylvania were experiencing. After presenting the idea of a statewide dispatch to the Wildlife Council, the council endorsed the idea. What was unknown was how many calls would need to be responded to. From October 2017 to December 2018, 527 calls were received. Then in 2019, the number of calls exploded to 1,690. The need for this organization was definitely reinforced by these numbers. The ideal situation would be to have enough capture and transport permittees and wildlife couriers so that no one would have to spend most of the day transporting an animal. If a volunteer could meet another wildlife courier to transport to a rehabilitation center within the state of Pennsylvania, then it would be more cost efficient, as in the cost of gas and vehicle maintenance, and time effective to share the responsibilities. Once the finder calls 814-414-4224, they are given choices to select what best meets their needs. The selection for an animal that needs to be captured results in the answering service answering the call. The answering service will ask for the following information: the name of the person calling, their telephone number, what type of animal, and what is the situation. This information is then texted to the WIN dispatcher. Once the WIN dispatcher receives the text message, they will confirm receipt and phone the caller. The WIN dispatcher will then assess the situation and advise the finder if they need to call another organization, such as the Pennsylvania Game Commission, regarding young or adult deer, otter, fisher, bobcat, bear, or wildlife removal of a healthy animal. Sometimes they'll have them call the Fish and Boat Commission regarding venomous snakes, or refer the caller to a Pennsylvania licensed wildlife rehabilitator for animals that are already contained. The WIN dispatcher will also determine if the Pennsylvania Game Commission is requesting assistance, if a place of business is requesting assistance, or if the animal is in need of being captured. The WIN dispatcher will then gather any additional necessary information to be entered into the Go Canvas app. That will be another training video for those who choose to use the Go Canvas app, and assign the information to the area in which the animal is located. Any WIN volunteer who is on WIN's Go Canvas app will be notified. If the WIN volunteer is able to respond, they will claim the assignment. Wildlife couriers do not need a permit to transport an animal at this point in time. So as you read this slide, you may be wondering how you, as a wildlife courier, are exempt. No one in Pennsylvania is allowed to house an animal without a permit. However, there are a few exceptions, such as weather conditions that restrict traveling. The rehabilitation center may be closed for the day, or the animal was captured in a county that is too far away to arrange a network transport before the center closes. The regional director should be notified when animals are not able to be transported so that the staff at the rehabilitation center can be notified, and if needed, they may give further instructions for stabilization of the animal. As long as arrangements are made the next day to transport the animal, there should not be a problem. With the Go Canvas app, everyone can see the assignment. Capture and transport permittees can respond to any assignment. However, wildlife couriers should only claim transport requests. Most volunteers that begin volunteering for WIN start as wildlife couriers. Those volunteers that have wildlife handling experience, such as those volunteers that already have their capture and transport permits, wildlife rehabilitators, wildlife enforcement, animal control, etc., may begin at a different level. Each applicant is evaluated for their animal handling experience. A wildlife courier is a dedicated volunteer that helps with the transport of a wild animal that is already in a carrier or box. The courier transports the animal to a Pennsylvania licensed wildlife rehabilitation center, a veterinarian, or another wildlife courier. Note that all veterinarian clinics do not take in wildlife. Only those clinics that have made arrangements through a Pennsylvania licensed rehabilitator or with WIN, and the understanding that once the animal has been triaged and treated, that it is WIN's responsibility to transport the animal to a Pennsylvania licensed wildlife rehabilitation center. We do not transport the animal directly to a zoo, a rescue, or an animal sanctuary. Once the animal is given to a wildlife courier for transport, the wildlife courier must safely and immediately drive it to a Pennsylvania licensed wildlife rehabilitator or veterinarian that will accept the animal for treatment, as directed by the capture and transport permittee. It is very important to be educated on the defenses that wild animals use. As a result, you will learn to understand and respect the animals. You not only need to be careful to protect yourselves, but the animal as well. The following slides will give you information on adult animals that rehabilitation centers receive most commonly. Teeth. Squirrels can bite through nutshells. They can easily bite through leather gloves. They can chew through a box easily and, given time, can chew through a plastic carrier. However, when any animal is injured or sick and in shock, they do not respond like a wild animal. Oftentimes, they are mistaken as tame. Squirrels can scratch worse than a cat. It is always important for those capturing the animal to wear leather gloves and to use a net, blanket, or close-knit towel to capture. When capturing red squirrels, they are an extremely high-stress animal and can die of stress myopathy if not captured quickly, less than 20 minutes. Rabbits can scratch a person if not handled correctly. If rabbits are not held correctly, they can break their own back when kicking with their hind legs. Rabbits are high-stress animals. They can die of stress myopathy when subjected to attacks, noise, unnecessary handling, and even the smell of predators. Opossums are our natural garbage cleanup. They are attracted to meat and can eat bones with no trouble at all. They are attracted to flesh. Do not wave your hand or any other part of your unclothed extremities in front of this animal. When nervous, they will drool. Don't assume this means they are rabid. Bird of prey talons are made for grabbing their prey, sometimes killing them. Owls will grab and not let go. Hawks will grab and sometimes let go and grab again and again. Wearing leather gloves and using something to cover the animal will not only reduce stress, but provides a safe barrier for the capture permittee. Beaks of both hawks and owls are made for tearing their meat so the meat can be swallowed or to feed their young. In the case of falcons, their beaks are notched to sever the spine of their prey. A leather glove will protect against the bite of a bird of prey. Waterfowl can also pose some dangers when being captured. Blue herons and cranes have extremely sharp beaks and an S-shaped neck that gives powerful ability to strike. They will strike at the most common part of our body that moves. Loons and grebes' beaks are serrated and pointed. The bite can cut like a knife. Cormorants are extremely quick and their beaks can slice. What do you think moves on us the most that a great blue heron would attack? You guessed it, it's our eyes. When herding and helping with a capture of a crane, loon, grebe, or cormorant, always wear protective glasses with side shields. Great blue herons have killed or seriously injured people performing an examination because the handler did not have the animal held correctly and the person performing the examination did not have the proper eye equipment. One of the defenses of a goose is to bite and twist. Swans can use their wings to beat a person, knocking them down and injuring them. When approaching a swan from a kayak, the kayaker may be knocked out of or over into the water. Geese have been known to break a person's nose by flying up and striking the person in the face. Woodpeckers have incredible strength to make holes in a tree by using their beaks. They will try to stab the handler to get them to let go. Birds with thick-based beaks are able to easily crack a shell and eat the meat inside. It is amazing how strong their beaks are. They will bite to try to get the handler to let go. Now that you have learned some of the dangers, you need to present yourself from being stabbed, grabbed, bitten, or scratched. If an animal does any of the above, it is because they can see you or part of you. To be able to block or cover them to prevent them from seeing you is very important. This reduces fear and ultimately keeps them from going any further into shock. Shock can be life-threatening. This is a list of items for you to start with. As you gain more experience, you can add more items. The above supplies can be put into a storage bin, which can be transferred easily from one car to another when meeting someone, or if you have a two-car family. It can also easily be carried to the capture site. If you have more than one container, it's good to use a clear container to easily locate items, or labeling the containers will help as well. The C&T permittee should have what is needed for more specialized rescues. For example, netted barriers, kayaks, a remote control boat, ropes, knife, limb trimmer, ladder, and a net. Each rescue creates its own challenges, so sometimes you need to improvise. When assisting with a rescue, you need to make sure you are dressed appropriately for the weather. If someone would show up for a rescue dressed like this, in the middle of winter with freezing temperatures, I would ask that person to stay in a warm vehicle and watch the rescue, and assist or call 911 if there is an incident where help is needed. When selecting gloves that you need to have in your vehicle, it is important that they fit. With disposable gloves, you need to make sure they do not tear too easily. There are gloves that you can purchase online that are strong nitrile gloves. Please review the description and reviews to ensure that they are durable. With regard to leather or welder's gloves, look online as well for reasonably priced gloves that fit your hands. Check the reviews to see if other animal handlers have purchased them and are satisfied with the purchase. It is always advisable to have several different types of leather gloves available in your car or container. For instance, you would not need to use welder's gloves on a songbird, but rather thin leather gloves that give you dexterity. It is also important that you have safety glasses or goggles that fit. Loose-fitting glasses can very easily slip off your face as you bend over to help prepare a box or container for a crane, heron, grebe, or cormorant. This leaves you vulnerable to getting stabbed or speared at your eyes. Always try on the glasses to ensure they fit before buying. There are safety glasses that you can purchase online that are reasonable in price and are adjustable to fit. Putting a barrier between you and an animal reduces stress on an injured animal. You can use a net, box or carrier, shirt, pillowcase, sheet or blanket to block the animal's view of you. Please make sure that when you are using a sheet or blanket that you fold it and hold it up ankle level to ensure you will not step on the sheet or blanket, causing you to fall. Be aware of your surroundings to make sure you are not stepping into danger, such as traffic or a pond, or the escape route for the animal. Whenever you are called to respond to a rescue, it is advisable that you ask another person to go with you if you are not familiar with the area. If this is not possible, then tell a responsible person where you are going. Make sure the person will be available if you need to contact them during your transport. When you are taking the animal across county lines to meet another wildlife courier, call the wildlife courier to arrange for a meeting place and time. You will be given the name of an available volunteer by the regional director or WIN dispatcher. Have a description of the vehicle, license plate number, and/or any stickers or markings on the vehicle. Call the WIN volunteer on a cell phone when you arrive at the destination. If not sure of territory, if it is isolated or dark, do not get out of your car and keep the doors locked. Wait until the other wildlife courier arrives, or call and ask to meet at a public place where there is better lighting. Never attempt to walk near or across a snow-covered or ice-covered pond or body of water without arranging for emergency agencies or another C&T permittee that have cold water rescue experience. When you are asked to locate an animal near water, ask another person to go with you. Always wear a personal flotation device when locating an animal or helping with a rescue in or near water. When the surface under the water is slippery due to snow or ice, or covered with slime in good weather, wear yak tracks over your footwear. Always use safe practices and common sense. You and the rescuer must keep in mind that you are setting an example for other volunteers, WIN, and the public. If it were not for you and the rescuer, the animals may not have a second chance. The C&T permittee may contact you and ask you to go to the location of the caller. You may be closer than the C&T permittee, or the caller may not be able to wait. It is the decision of the C&T permittee if they will respond if the caller is not able to wait. You will need to locate the animal upon arrival. If the animal is not there, check to see if there are visible tracks and follow until found. Look in trees and low-lying branches and around the area. If not found, call the C&T permittee right away. Keep your eyes on the animal in case it should move. Stay in or behind your vehicle unless the animal moves out of your sight, then follow at a distance and call the C&T permittee. You may be supervised over the phone as to how to contain it. You may be called out to meet a caller that is waiting but not able to stay for long. Keep your eyes on the animal. Stay in or behind the vehicle so as not to stress the animal. Keep the caller away from the animal, explaining reasons. No petting. Obtain information for the WIN history form. Explain our mission and goals to the caller. This may be an opportunity to recruit an interested person. You may be asked to accompany the capture and transport permittee to the location of a rescue. Some animals may be able to run and hide under bushes or brush piles. A second pair of eyes may be needed. With instructions by the C&T permittee, direct or herd the animal toward a certain direction, or prevent the animal from going in a certain direction. When preparing a box, in most cases, holes are made for ventilation, and a close knot material is put at the bottom. Most animals cannot grip on cardboard and need something to cling or to grasp onto. When preparing a carrier, cover the grated door with a pillowcase or t-shirt, making sure that when taped, the tape is on the outside of the door and not on the inside. Also make sure that the cover is not interfering with the posts that go into the holes that secure the door shut. A close-knit material is needed for the bottom of the carrier as well. Once the C&T permittee has captured the animal is placed in the bottom of the box. With the C&T permittee holding the animal, begin folding over the leaves of the box as shown. Fold leaves of the box over on one another as the C&T permittee pulls their arms out, or place the lid on the box and tape securely. If the animal is a bat, do not poke holes in the box. Interleave the flaps of the box and tape all areas completely to ensure the bat cannot escape. Check the bottom of the box as well. Tape the bottom and corners securely. The bat will have enough air in the box to be able to breathe. With a carrier, you may need to shut the door as the C&T permittee withdraws their arms. Make sure that the posts of the door are going through the holes in the carrier so that the door is securely closed. Cover carrier with a sheet or blanket to make it as dark as possible. It is best to use colored plastic tubs so the animal is not able to see activity outside of the tub. Cut ventilation holes in the lid of the plastic tub. If possible, have the lid ready with holes prior to going on a rescue. Place a sheet or close-knit material on the bottom. As the animal is placed in the container by the C&T permittee, slide the lid toward the C&T permittee's arms. Once the C&T permittee's arms are free from the tub, secure the lid on the plastic tub. You may need to use strong tape to secure the lid to the body of the tub. If you are presented with a clear container, make absolutely sure to cover it with a sheet or blanket. Never put an animal in a wire cage. They can do more damage to themselves, causing them to be in rehabilitation longer. If an animal is presented to you in a wire cage, have a C&T permittee remove it and put it into a box. If no C&T permittee is available, completely surround the cage with a sheet or blanket. Once an animal is contained in a box or carrier, especially in the case of a crane, heron, loon, or grebe, do not peek through a hole or opening, or let anyone else do so. It is your responsibility to make sure the box or plastic tub containing the animal is taped securely. Double check to make sure the door of the carrier is closed and latched correctly. Also check that the nuts and bolts that hold the carrier together are tight or have been replaced with zip ties. When preparing to transport an animal that has a foreign body attached to it, such as a fish hook or arrow, make sure they cannot get further injured in the carrier by getting caught on the air slats. Please bring this to the attention of the C&T permittee immediately and have them put the animal in a box. If no box is available, turn the carrier upside down so the slats are on the bottom half. The safest place to put the container is on the floor behind the passenger seat. Move the seat back so that it is firmly supporting the container. If the container is too large to place behind a seat, put it on a seat and secure it with a seat belt. Or place it in the back of an SUV and secure it so it will not tip when making sharp turns or braking quickly. It is important to keep young animals warm because they cannot thermoregulate. Some of those animals are nestling songbirds, opossums, and neonate mammals. You can use a heated car seat, hand warmers, or ice bags that can be microwaved. Place the heat source under the container. Do not put it inside the container or directly against the animal. Never put the container in front of your car heater. Never put the container in the trunk of a car or the bed of a truck. Never bring your pets on a wildlife transport. Do not make loud noises, shout, or turn on the radio. Do not smoke, apply perfume, or use strong-smelling air fresheners. Never open the box or carrier. Never peek into a hole in the box or carrier, or let anyone else do so. Most group rescues have to do with waterfowl that have been injured and a single person or a few people are not able to safely capture them. A group rescue will be organized by a capture and transport permittee. Often the waterfowl are able to run well or can fly some but not well, and or are in or near a body of water. If an injured waterfowl can fly and not be captured, there is a certain time each year, that would be June or July, when the adults will lose their flight feathers and will regrow them as the young ones are growing their flight feathers. Group rescues are easier during this time. The rescue group needs to form a wall or barrier between the water and the waterfowl. The waterfowl needs to be herded toward the barrier where capture and transport permittees can capture them. The animal or animals need to be herded away from roads, ravines, and other bodies of water. In this photo, farm geese needed to be relocated. We took this opportunity as practice for a rescue group. Closest to the camera is a netted barrier. People with the sheets are forming a wall around the geese, and designated volunteers are assigned to capturing the geese. One type of barrier is a person holding a sheet or a blanket. Make sure that when you're holding the sheet or blanket, you raise it up high enough to prevent stepping on it and falling. Netting with poles can be used that can be held or staked. Netting stretched between trees and tied is another option. Make sure netting is tight. Flapping of netting will cause the waterfowl to stay away. When using bushes or weeds as a barrier, make sure you know what is on the other side. This may also be an escape route for waterfowl that are familiar with the area. Netting can be stretched across the bushes as well. Another barrier would be the wall of a building. You can use the wall to herd the animal toward it. A wall can also be made by people using sheets. If it is windy, the sheets may not work as well. Heavier material can be used, such as material made from canvas, moving blankets, or a neutral colored blanket. People with sheets position themselves at equal distance, walking toward to herd and block the animal. The group can form a horseshoe with the open end being the barrier. They can also form a circle when there is no barrier. Only the designated person or people should step in to capture the animals. The space that the person stepped out of is then closed in by those holding the blanket or sheets. Together, all walk smoothly and swiftly, eventually coming within reach of each other's hands, creating a solid wall. A wall can also be made by people holding broomstick handles or branches and putting sheets over them as seen in the photo. While two people hold the handle at each end, a sheet can be draped over the arms of each person and the handle or branch. This can be done for as many people and supplies that you have. This can also be done using one person. When you have an animal hiding under a bush, several people can surround the bush while holding sheets. The bottom of the sheets are dropped to ground level. One person goes under the bush to capture or directs the animal to someone in the wall line. A couple of ways to herd waterfowl that are not able to fly, or flush waterfowl that can fly in order to locate the one that cannot fly, drones or remote control boats can be used. Then these devices can be used to direct the injured waterfowl to a designated area where volunteers are waiting to capture. Now that you have taken the course, please email Sue Dearment at sdearment@windstream.net and request an application. Please complete it and return by email or U.S. Postal Service. We look forward to having you join our team.